So with that, everyone will receive a recording afterwards. So if you're not able to join, you registered, you'll get this afterwards. And you can review Sara's content again later on. We will also submit a survey. So after the webinar concludes, a webinar link will pop up. Please, pretty please make sure that you fill that out. Your information that you provide to us allows us to kind of look at our monthly webinars, what direction you guys want to go in, and what you would like to hear. We do take that feedback very seriously. And Sara was one of the recommended speakers that you guys had given us in a previous month. So she is here, and we're excited to have her. So underneath, there is a chat function and questions. We want to make this as interactive as possible. We know that you are not on video with us, which we would love for you to be. But please feel free to, engage with us, engage with Sara. She loves that. And we will make sure that throughout the session, we will pause and bring up any comments, questions that you have. And with that, we will also be engaging you guys with polls. So please do make sure that you submit your responses. So without further ado, just introduce Sara and the session a little bit. So Sara Frazier is with us today. She has over 15 years of retail management experience and 6 years in office manager for a used car and sales service. So she really wanted to bring her customer service, marketing, and business knowledge to the automotive industry. So she joined the team at Haas Performance Consulting. So Sara loves helping others grow and succeed and is excited to share her expertise on management and social media. Also her views on how and why the younger generations think and act, and how to work and manage a business with a multi-generational workforce. So Sara, enough from me. I'm going to pass it over to you. And I really appreciate you being here. I've loved getting to know you. And I really do hope that from this session, you do get people on the webinar that reach out to you, because I think you bring a lot of expertise to this subject.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amber. It is my complete joy to be here with you guys today. We're going to be talking about what I want from an automotive repair shop as a millennial. This is probably, out of all the classes I teach, my favorite, because it's completely my opinion, my perspective, the things that I want when it comes to an automotive repair shop. So a little bit about me. Amber kind of filled you guys in already. I did spend 6 years working at a used car dealership and service center. Learned a lot. Never thought I would end up in the automotive industry. However, I grew up in it. My dad owned shops my whole life. Just didn't think it was my path. And then one day I ended up taking this position part-time to answer the phone 15 hours a week. It was a one-man shop. He bought cars, fixed cars, sold cars, did everything by himself. By the time I left 6 years later, we were up to, I think, almost 15 employees. We had taken over another building next door to us. We had a sales team, a finance team. So I got to learn a lot about this industry in an environment as we were growing and expanding and learning and changing. And I got to see a lot of what worked with our culture and what worked with our customers. And literally by the time I left, I could do pretty much anything under that roof except for fix a car. So I'm not going to be the person to go to when it comes to fixing a car, but anything else, I had my salesperson's license. I could sell a car. I could finance the car. I could help the service advisors out. I was able to do all of those things. I call it probably one of the best happy accidents that happened in my life, because it all kind of worked out to lead me to doing what I'm doing now. And that's the bulk of what I do is social media management for independent automotive repair shops. But I also get to do stuff like this and get out and teach and talk about millennials and talk about Generation Z and business culture and all of those things. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys today and to talk a little bit about millennials. So before I get into what it is that I want, that experience that I'm looking for from an automotive repair shop, I want to just do like a little introduction on who the millennial is. I know we've been talking about millennials for a long time. Just a little bit of a refresher. And I know Amber has a poll up, I think, for this on how old, when you hear that word millennial, how old do you think we are? Now, don't Google it, don't cheat, just first thing that comes to your mind, age range of who you think that millennial customer employee is. What age range do you think they are?
All right, we're going to give it a few more seconds. I think most of our audience might actually know who the millennial
Awesome.
age is. So make sure you get them in. I'm going to close it in like 2 seconds. And end poll. I am going to share those results.
Look at you guys. You are absolutely correct. We are 26 to 41. I would maybe even say 25 to 40. It kind of varies depending on where you look, but 26 to 41, typical age range for a millennial. I know a lot of times people hear millennial and just think young person. Sometimes we're looking at people who are in their early 20s and going, oh, I know this customer. I know about the millennial. This is how I need to treat them. Well, that's actually Generation Z. When we look at 12 to 24, that's Gen Z. And although they have a lot of similarities with millennials, they're pretty different too. And I probably will talk about some things today that I'll group Gen Z in on because some of the things are pretty similar. But I thought this was kind of fun. I did like a photo search of just millennial to see what kind of photos came up. And so I put this up as who the world thinks we are. And this was one of the photos that came up when I searched for millennial. And I was like, definitely not millennials. These look like high school, maybe college students. If I was going to guess, I would say the only person who has a chance of being a millennial in this photo is the gentleman who looks like he's the teacher or the instructor. And he might be Gen X, but this is kind of, I thought it was interesting that this came up in a photo search because this is definitely not your millennial customer anymore. And then this was a photo that also came up and I thought, well, this is probably a little bit more of an accurate depiction of who that millennial customer is.
I was working at Starbucks last night, so I am an older millennial, so you nailed it.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. I take my computer with me places all the time and working from a coffee house. So, and I'm 36. I kind of like to put myself in the group that we call the elder millennials. But yeah, so this is a little bit more of an accurate depiction of who that millennial customer is that we're talking about. And why are we talking about millennials so much? There's a lot of us. There's 1.8 billion millennials. That's a lot. That's 23% of the current population. So when you talk about that many people, that's quite a bit of spending power within the millennial. And I think, Amber, you have another poll for that.
Yeah. So what is the collective annual income of millennials worldwide by 2030? So you guys should see that now. I'm curious what you think. So 2030 is not really that far off. And, really this is just to kind of gauge you guys and really help you understand, like you said, Sarah, like what buying power do millennials have right now and how is that affecting your shop? So I'm going to give it another second. Looks like half of you guys have responded. Would love to see a little bit more. Keep going. All right, I am going to pause and share that. So, 4 trillion is actually what that's going to look like. And I know that we are talking also about Gen Z. This doesn't even include that next generation who is like really starting to have buying power.
A huge number. So that's definitely why we want to, when we're doing our marketing, when we're thinking about our business culture and how we're interacting with our customers, we really want to think about the wants and needs of the millennial customers and your Gen Z customers. Now, I'm not saying don't cater to your baby boomers and your Gen X customers either, but we're going to need to adapt and change to fit the wants and needs of the younger generations that are coming in. And just a side note on that too, with how many of us there are, that puts us at 43% of the workforce are millennials. So there's just a lot of us out there. One thing I like to cover when I talk about millennials is assumptions about millennials, because I think often we hear that word and unfortunately there's a lot of negative stereotype that comes with millennial. I'm sure you could probably name it. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in the chat and throw some things out that, you hear that millennial word, things that people think about us. The first thing I put on here is that millennials need to be rewarded. Millennials need to be recognized for their achievements. We need to be told good job. We need to be, thanked for coming into work. My dad often says, no one had to thank me to come into work. That's just what you did. You went into work because it was your job. Now we have people who want, a simple thank you. Why is that? We've heard this term trophy kids being talked about. And where does that come from? So as a millennial, we grew up in the era of participation ribbons. Everybody participated. You got something. If you were in sports or anything competitive, typically, even if you didn't win, you left with something. You got a trophy, you got a ribbon, you showed up, you got a gold star. Good job. Thanks for being here. You did something. Okay. We kind of now as adults still want that reward a little bit just for showing up. I want my gold star for coming to work today. And now my gold star doesn't need to be physical. It doesn't need to be a prize. It doesn't need to be a trophy. It could be as simple as hey, thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for coming in and doing your job. That little bit of recognition and reward for a millennial goes a long way. Now take this into your millennial customer. This actually happened to me at an automotive repair shop, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I went in to take my car for an oil change, and I'm checking in, and they're looking at my stuff, and the guy was like, "Wow, you take really good care of your car. Good job." And I was like, "Oh, wow, thanks." Telling a millennial, you're doing something correct, you're doing something right, and then saying good job and complimenting us for that, huge. Mm. Rewarding your customers, massive for loyalty. Why? I'm not going to look for another shop. When I go to this place, they take care of me, they compliment me, they treat me well. Now, when we talk about Gen Z, they don't have that brand loyalty that millennials have, so that's going to be a little bit different. But rewarding your millennial customer is going to create huge brand loyalty with us. Once we start, if it's rewards points or just, know that we're being treated well, we're being complimented, we're being given, even if it's just that verbal reward, I'm going to keep coming back because I enjoy that and it makes me feel good. And so this whole millennials needing to be rewarded thing, it comes from the era of the trophy kids, but I don't like to look at it as a negative thing. I mean, most companies that have recognition perks and stuff have happier employees. It's just the way it is. When we're rewarding people, people feel better, we're happier, we're more loyal. So instead of looking at that trophy kid mentality as a negative thing, how can we use that to our benefit to reward our customers and create that loyalty within our millennial customers?
Sarah, I also think when you say that, right? I also think it just goes without saying, it's just acknowledgement, right? It's acknowledgement of your employee. It's acknowledgement of your customer. It's acknowledgement, you and I are talking before this, you name all of your cars, right? Acknowledging that you hear your customer and that the next time that they come in, that's what they're looking for, whether they're really a millennial or not. I mean, you should be doing that no matter what. It does go a long way.
It does. And making a millennial feel special is huge. So yes, if you know the name of my car, make a note of that. And next time I come in, oh, hey, you brought Sophie in today. It's so nice to see you. Silly things like that. Or if you know the name of my dog or my kids or whatever, the more personable, what a millennial wants is an experience, right? So we're willing to pay more for those experiences. And I'm going to talk a lot about that a little bit later on what that experience looks and feels like. But yeah, rolling out that red carpet, that acknowledgement, that, and it doesn't have to be huge. Yeah. Simple little verbal things are definitely going to help with that loyalty from your millennial customer.
I think, so let me get to Gary. I do see your question. I think that we're going to answer it. I don't know if you see it, Sarah. I think it's better in a little bit later. I think it comes up kind of, so we'll pause that. But another one, trophy kid is negative because it was created to stop the fact that they found it hard to teach disappointment or failure. That is a very bad, and it leads to generation that has to be praised when they lose a race or other thing. I mean, Gary, absolutely. I mean,
and that's why it's not happening anymore, right?
Yeah.
But because, we can't go back and change what happened when we were younger, and that is how we were raised. But how do we take that and look at that as, when I talk about wanting to be rewarded, I don't necessarily think that wanting to be acknowledged is good or bad. It just is. And how do we utilize that to take those millennial customers who want that and be able to give them that reward a little bit?
Yeah. And I think too, it is what it is, right? This, like you said,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, it's not something that like you either have to make a choice, like how you're going to handle this generation or not. And you could lose business over it. So it's kind of like either you're going to step forward or don't. And that sounds really bad, but
Yeah. Well, and so, yeah, I'm not saying like we should still be giving trophies for everything. That's not what I'm saying. That's just the era that we were raised in. And so how do we work with that attitude a little bit moving forward?
and Raymond, his truck's name is Paw Paw's Hooker. So we'll make sure that your repair shop knows that.
So the next stereotype about millennials, which this one confuses me a lot, is that millennials are lazy. And I find this one confusing because when I think, I think it just happened because we hear this about Gen Z now too. They're so lazy. And when I look at Gen Z, I actually think they're quite overachievers in certain aspects. But I think this is just something that happens when you're coming of age, 20 something year olds. Oh, they're lazy. They don't ever leave the house. They don't get off their phones. When I think back on my early 20s, I was working 2, if not 3 jobs. I had friends that were in school full time that were working 2 jobs on the side. So I just don't see where that lazy stereotype about us came from. So I'm going to give you a few different words about millennials that are more positive than and one is that we're highly adaptive. So when you think about the millennial, we adapted to everything. We grew up as we were learning the internet. We learned every new cell phone as it came out. We learned how to text with just numbers and then got to have smartphones and all of that. So we've really adapted to everything that's come at us and been thrown at us. When you look at Gen Z, they're not necessarily super adaptive. All of this technology has been a standard for them. They've always had it. And we kind of saw this a little bit with the pandemic. They didn't adapt super, super well to all the change, to being able to go to remote learning and all of those things, where millennials adapted really well, being able to work from home. A lot of them are still choosing to do it half at home and half at work because they liked that and found that it worked out for them. So your millennial is typically highly adaptive, tech savvy, multitasker, team player, resourceful. So just want to give you some positive things to think about when we hear that millennial word instead of lazy.
I think, those words, right? Tech savvy, that goes without saying, right? Like your employee and your customer, right? And that's things that you should be thinking about how you're setting up your shop, right? And what that looks like in a process, like a streamlined process.
Right. Yes, definitely. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too in embracing technology, when I have a slide where I'm going to talk about using apps and things like that, because that's what millennial customers are wanting. And then this is probably the biggest one that I hear the most, is that millennials are entitled. And I kind of think about this a lot. And where does that come from? The thing that I think most this stems from is just growing up and being told, you're going to be able to do whatever you want. You're going to have it so much better. You're going to go to school. You're going to get this career. You're going to have an amazing job. You're going to have it so much better than we did. You're going to be able to do anything you want to do. So I think millennials, we have a heightened confidence. We think we can do pretty much anything. I'm guilty of oftentimes saying yes to projects before even realizing what I'm getting into and if it's something I can handle, and then being like, oh my gosh, am I qualified? Can I do this? We have a very heightened sense of confidence, and we're also proud of our accomplishments too. So, if we did go to school and get a degree and we think we should get a certain pay because we put all that work into it, is it entitled? I mean, I have a different phrase I like to use instead of entitled, and that's that we have a stronger drive for achievement. So the millennials definitely have this confidence. They have a, yes, I can do it attitude. And we have a pretty big drive because we've always been told, you're going to be able to do anything you want to do, reach for the stars. You're going to have all of these things. And it didn't necessarily happen. I mean, if I think about it, I graduated high school in 2003. So my friends that were in college got out right around 2008, which is what was happening in our economy in 2008, right? Everything was changing. So we didn't necessarily get this life that I think we were told so much was going to happen, but we didn't give up, and we're still driving to achieve, and we still have a good sense of confidence. And so instead of thinking of us as entitled, just a different spin on it.
Do you think with the stronger drive for achievement, there's also a stronger expectation on others, like, with service, with those things? Like, I think those two things go hand in hand.
100%. So I think that definitely as a customer, a lot of us have worked in customer service at some point and have bent over backwards to help customers, maybe to help difficult customers, have been trained to go above and beyond. And so then as a customer, we sort of expect that in return, right? If I was on the other side, I would be doing whatever I could to help this person. So if I'm in a situation, why am I not getting that same kind of
Service.
Service back?
Yeah.
Oh, I see a question came in.
Maybe the same. You read it.
It's a question about Gen Z and boomers kind of butting heads in the workplace, if I believe I read that correctly. I think it's just embracing that they're different, and that doesn't mean that one way is right or one way is wrong. It's just being able to embrace all of their positive qualities. I do have a completely different class that's all about working. So this one's going to be more geared towards the millennial customer. But I do have classes that I teach specifically on Generation Z and specifically on what millennials and Gen Z want in a workplace. But yeah, somebody said establish a shop culture. 100%. I just did a webinar earlier this week that was all about business culture. And so you can email me. We can have a conversation about that later too, but I'm going to try to stick more towards the customer side of stuff on the webinar today. And then the last thing about millennials is that we're killing industries. This seemed like it was something that was being talked a lot about pre-pandemic. Don't really hear about it so much now, but I live in Wisconsin, so I'll give you a couple of Wisconsin kind of examples. I remember somebody telling me that millennials were killing the beer industry. They weren't buying beer anymore. And I was like, what? I'm thinking about me and my friends. I'm like, no, we definitely are. Well, and here's what it was. It was that the mass market beer industry was hurting while the craft beer industry was thriving. So what's the difference there? And I thought about that because we don't really ever buy mass market beer. We're always going to local craft breweries and those kinds of things. And there's an experience tied to that. We get to go in, we get to try different things, where like a lot of the local craft beers will sell a package where you get an amber and a porter and an IPA and you get different things. And that's what we want. We want that different experience, not necessarily just the same thing that it's always been. Or another great Wisconsin example, pre-pandemic, a lot of supper clubs here were closing. They were not staying in business. Why is that? Yeah. They weren't doing anything different. They were running their business exactly how they had been for the last 50 years. They weren't adapting. They weren't adding vegetarian or vegan options. They weren't updating the atmosphere of their restaurant. It was dingy. It was dirty. It was dark. That's not the experience that millennials are after. So a lot of those places just didn't stick around. So as an automotive repair shop, what can we do to adapt and change and offer things that these younger generations are wanting so that we can become the shop of choice for our millennial customers? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about, which is what I want from an automotive repair shop. And then, did I miss a question?
No, it was just more, comments on previous comments about culture and inclusivity, respect, all of those things. So I love the commentary. So keep going, guys. This is exactly what the forum is for. So
one thing that you have your dogs there with, absolutely. We had a shop dog at the shop I worked at too, and everybody knew Oliver. They would come in just to see Oliver sometimes if they happened to be in the neighborhood, and I think that's a lot of fun.
I love that.
So the first thing I'm going to talk about is reviews, but I believe, Amber, you have a poll on that before I jump into it.
So are you currently managing your reviews? And that means the good and the bad. And I know we're going to go into a lot of this. And I think the second part of this too, and I know you'll touch on it, is if you are doing your reviews and you're responding to them, what that should look like. And Sarah, I know you'll touch on that as well. All right. So majority of the group is managing the reviews, both good and bad. And you got a little mixture of no and sometimes.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do before I decide to go do business with anybody, not just automotive repair shops, but with anybody, any type of service, or even before making a big purchase, is I'm going to look at reviews. And I can tell you that almost every single millennial is the exact same way. That's what we do. We look at reviews first. We want to know what the experiences that other people have had. And there's a lot of information out there. So I'm going to look at your reviews. I'm going to look at the good, and I'm also going to look at the bad. Now, I 100% understand that we can't please every customer, right? That, no matter what, there's probably going to be a business that has a bad review. So what I'm looking for is, how was that responded to? How was that review handled by the company? So here's my advice for you guys. When you get those really bad, nasty reviews where you have that customer that you just couldn't make happy, absolutely respond to it. But when you go in to write that response, don't necessarily think about it like you're writing it to that person. That person may or may not ever come back and read your response. Who is going to read it is all of your prospective customers. So write that response in a way that if you had a brand new customer that was coming in and thinking about coming to do business with you, that they would be able to be like, oh, wow, this shop really stepped up. They're taking ownership and accountability. They're trying to take care of this person. They really care about the situation. They're trying to make it right. Those are the things I'm looking for. I've seen so many times where it kind of comes off a little bit like they're just putting blame on the customer, or, whatever the situation is, that it just feels a little bit negative. So as much as you can, just think about that prospective customer that's going to be looking at that response to your review, not just the situation at hand that had happened.
Yeah. I think too, so we did have, there's a few in here, everyone reads reviews now. Absolutely. And I think this generation that we're specifically talking about, like you said, is reading that and, checking online, right? So those are the types of things that they're doing. And somebody also mentioned that they did have a bad one last night. I think this is reading because we did not talk face to face. And I think too, this goes into something that you're going to talk later about understanding the type of communication.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we will talk about that for sure. So yeah, if you don't have a lot of reviews, start asking for them. Ask your best customers, hey, would you just take a few minutes and leave a review? Because this is a huge marketing piece. This is where people are going to come and look at before they even decide to pick up the phone or to go to your website to try to book an appointment. You're going to look at reviews first. Yeah. And then also respond to your positive ones too. People that are taking the time out of their day to leave you a positive review, thank them, respond to them. And don't make them cookie cutter responses where you're just copying and pasting the same thing to everybody that leaves you a good review. Try to be as personable as you can. Again, like if you know something about them, or if you know about the name of their car or whatever, to make it as personable as possible in that response to that review.
Yeah. And Sarah too, like just something, with shop management, especially, AutoLeap, like that Google review is now automated, right? So when that service is done, they automatically are asked to leave a review. There are things in place that are able to help mitigate, those bad reviews so that you can build that trust. Just like, I think it was Raymond was saying, this way it helps you get back in front of them, right? So that you can get back in front of them. So there are things that are helping you manage those Google reviews.
Yes, absolutely. And use that technology. I mean, it's awesome that those things are in place. The next thing I have is the ability to book online. I'm going to be completely honest. If I read all your reviews and I'm like, okay, this looks like a great solid place, and I go to your website and I'm going to make an appointment and there's no way to book online, I'm going to move on to the next shop. I don't want to pick up the phone. I don't want to call. And the reason for that is I have a lot of anxiety about picking up the phone and making a phone call and then being asked a bunch of questions that I don't know the answer to. What year is your car? I think it's a 2014. Maybe it's a 2016. I don't know. What kind of engine is in it? I don't know. So like, to me, picking up the phone and calling an automotive repair shop is a big, scary thing. But I was talking to another fellow millennial about this the other day too. And they were saying even just like calling the dentist is a scary thing, right? Just picking up the phone to make an appointment is not something most of us want to do. We want to be able to do it online. And so if I don't have, and I don't call, like my vet appointments are made online, my hair appointments are made online. I can't think of the last time I've had to actually pick up the phone and call to make an appointment. So if you don't have a way to book online, which I think most of us do at this point, I would highly suggest looking for a way to do that, even if it's something where it gives you like 3 different options, like pick a day, 3 different options, and then we'll reach out to you with the one that's available.
Yeah. We did get, so a few things. I think we should pause here and respond to it. So Jeff, so far, all he's heard is that we cater to millennials, or we'll have to cater. And I mean, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Again, it goes back to that experience. It goes back to, expectations. And I think, like, unfortunately too, like, yes, we're like specifically honing in on that millennials because they make up that majority of the workforce and buying. But that it kind of goes across the board how you should be treating any customer. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We should be catering to our customer. I mean, we're in customer service. We should be.
And do you see the other ones?
So I saw the one about asking for a VIN. The thing is, if you ask me for a VIN and I'm making an online appointment, the chances of me actually getting it are 10 times more likely because I'm not on the phone with you. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I have to go find this right now. I can walk away from my computer, I can go find it, or I could go find it in paperwork somewhere and copy and paste it. Or, if I have it in my stuff from when I purchased my car or wherever, I can find that and I'm not put on the spot on the phone. So that's another reason. I mean, most places that I booked online don't ask for that. They usually just ask for like the make, model, I think the year, and then like what the concern is or what the service is that it needs. I think a couple more came in that I didn't see.
That's all you need. Don't need a VIN. Don't ask your maker model. Keep it simple.
The easier you can make it, the higher the likelihood of me coming into your shop is. As easy as you can make it.
And if they're a repeat customer, right? That stuff is already there. So the system will pull that up automatically. You do have the use case of it being a new person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing on here is preferred method of communication. So I go ahead, I book my appointment online, and I absolutely love it when shops have, how would you like to be contacted? Phone, text, email. I love this because same reason I don't want to pick up the phone, I want to be texted. That is 9 times out of 10, my preferred method of communication. But I cannot tell you how many times I've done something like this and put text, and 5 minutes later, my phone rings. If I wanted to talk on the phone, I would have picked up the phone in the first place, right? So if you're going to put something like this in place, respect what that customer is saying. Hey, text me, or hey, email me. For me personally, why text I think is so much better is I get that time to kind of read over what you're saying, to think about it. If I need to find information, I could go find that information and come back with it. I don't have to respond right away. If I'm in the middle of something, I can take a few minutes, come back to it, focus on it, and respond to you. The other thing I absolutely love about text and email is I can go back and reference it. So when you're telling me something that's going on with my car, I have a place to go back. So then when my husband's like, oh, well, what happened? What went wrong? What's going on with the car? I'm not like, what did they say? I can go back and I can look at that email, or I can look at that text message and I can be like, oh, well, this is what's going on. Now, I also understand that at some point you're probably going to need to actually talk to me on the phone, and that's totally fine. But what I would want is somebody to text me and say, hey, we looked at your car. There are some things we'd like to chat about. Is it okay if I give you a call? Or when are you available for a call? So then I can look at my schedule and be like, oh yeah, 2 o'clock. Can you call me at 2 o'clock? That would work out great for me. That's also good for you because now when you call me, you're not interrupting me. My head's not somewhere else. I know at 2 o'clock, Joe's going to call me and we're going to talk about my car. And so now I'm focused. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm ready to have that conversation versus just being caught up and I'm in the middle of something and I'm busy and I have things going on and I'm not really listening to what you're talking about. I know I see the chat going a lot.
So I'll stream through. So how long would it be an appropriate time to wait for a response? I think you're saying like before they actually call.
Before they actually respond. Yeah, I would like it the same day. But what I also like about booking online is that I'm able to do it at any time. So if I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot I need to make an oil change appointment and I'm thinking about it as I'm trying to sleep at 11 o'clock at night, I can go in there and make that appointment at 11 o'clock at night. Now, I don't expect anyone to respond to me at 11 o'clock at night. So within the next like 24 to 48 hours, I think would be ideal. Yeah. Again, if it's on a weekend, next business day, that kind of situation.
Yeah. Okay. So Raymond, actually, you brought up this point yesterday. So he gave his age. So not in the millennial group, and he loves text messages because it gives a trail. And that's exactly what you and I were talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important.
Right. And it's good for the customer and it's good for you because you can be like, well, no, this is what we talked about yesterday. And it's all I think the Gen Z kids call it receipts now. Is that having receipts? But yeah, you have a trail, you have a way to track it. And that way, if I was busy when I read that information the first time, when I have a minute, I can go back and I can reread it and digest it and understand what's happening. So absolutely love text messaging or emailing for that reason.
Okay, I think we misunderstood what Marissa was asking. She did say, what would be the appropriate amount of time to wait for the customer to respond to a text from the shop, right?
Oh, before you call them.
Yeah.
I would say at least give them like an hour. And then if you do call them, they might not answer. They might be at work. They might not be able to have access to their phone, but at least try to respect that preferred method of communication first. And then they'll see like, oh, you did text me before you picked up and called me. So like you at least were respecting what I had asked.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing that I have on here that I want from an automotive repair shop is a subscription. So millennials have subscriptions to everything. I have a makeup subscription that comes in the mail. My dog has a subscription that comes every month. She gets a box of stuff every month. We pay for gym memberships that come out of our bank account every month, whether we're using them or not. We have them. This is something that is very common with your millennial customer, that we have these things that just get pulled from our account every month. Our Netflix, our, Amazon, whatever it is. We have a lot of things that come out every month and we're just used to that. I think it would be really cool if in the automotive space, there was a way that I could pay a certain monthly fee and then just know that I'm covered for oil changes, light bulbs, whatever that situation would look like, that it's not, I'm coming in and now I have this unexpected expense. It's something that I've slowly been paying for throughout the year. We do have a client that does something similar to this. I believe you pay either for the full year or you pay for like 6 months up front, and it has a whole list of things that includes. But what's also cool about this with that millennial is this becomes like a VIP package, right? Which makes us feel really special. We want to be part of that special group. I want you to know my name when I come into the shop. I want that extra special roll out the red carpet kind of treatment. So by having something like this would kind of make me feel like I have that. And then also, what is the likelihood of me going somewhere else if I'm already spending this money with you every month? Chances are I'm going to continue coming back. And then maybe because I'm part of this, when I do have like a major repair that comes up, maybe there's an extra discount, like a 5 or 10% discount because you're part of this VIP program. And why would I take that work somewhere else if you already have my loyalty here? You're kind of rewarding me in a sense. And it's just coming out of my account every month, which I'm already used to with other things. I've talked about this a lot with my friends because I was like, am I crazy in wanting this? And they're like, why doesn't anybody do that? So I don't know the logistics of how we would make something like this happen, but I do think there's definitely an interest in it. And I think it would be cool too, just for like, your Uber drivers, your Lyft drivers who are needing services and things like that. Maybe there's a different tier of that program that's something that they could utilize. So yeah, it's kind of a thought, wanted to put it out there. I don't know if you guys know anyone who's doing something like this, if it's working out well. I've looked into it. There's nobody locally by me that offers it, but it would definitely be something as a consumer that I would be interested in.
Yeah, we got some that was a really good idea. And what kind of subscription services? We were talking about yesterday, if you're in, an area that has a lot of snow, what if you make it like a subscription to certain services that people need to check their tires or, make sure that they're prepared for the weather that's upcoming, those types of things. You said something else as well yesterday about certain packages, just those maintenance packages.
Yeah. Or maybe it's like a quarterly, like every 4 months you get, your inspection and you get your oil change and I know every car is different for how often it needs to come in for what different services. So I think it would just depend on the type of work your shop does, who your typical customer is, and how to fit those needs. And this isn't going to be something that's for every customer, but I do think that there is a group of customers that would be very interested in it.
Yeah.
All right, so I talked about this a little bit before, embracing technology. There's an app for that. We have apps for literally everything on our phones, right? Everything we do on our phone is some type of app. And I think even my vet has an app. The restaurants we go to a lot have apps that we use that have rewards on them. It's kind of like a replacement for carrying that rewards card in my wallet. Now it's all on my phone. It's easy to be able to access. What I like about having an app for an automotive repair shop is that you can send push notifications. So you can send me a notification through the app, like, hey, you have your oil change is coming up. You have an upcoming oil change due. Click on it, go into the app, can make the appointment right there, can even do payments through it, all sorts of things like that. It makes my life 100% easier. Like I said, the easier you can make it for me, the more likely I am to come in, right? The easier it is, the more likely I am to do it. And again, this is one of those things that if you do create an app for your shop, don't make it something that every customer has to have, because your boomer customers probably might not want to do it. You might have the customers that are like, oh, I don't want to take the time to download that on my phone. It's not something I want. But you are going to have the customers who are going to really embrace it and who do want that. So if you're going to do like your loyalty card on there, your rewards card, still have an option for a physical one too for the people who don't want to embrace the app. But I think it's a pretty cool option to have for people that just want to take that on. And then, you can even send invoices and stuff through them. There's quite a few companies out there that I think are doing this for automotive repair shops. So it's pretty cool. Any messages I need to catch up? Like I kind of see it spinning, but I haven't been able to read them.
No, you're okay. They're just kind of talking amongst themselves. There was something interesting about the subscription services. Sometimes they're considered an insurance policy, which can be highly regulated. I'm not an expert in that, so I don't know.
I'm not either.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Okay, great. All right, something else I want is an Instagram worthy experience. I taught a class out in Florida recently, a couple months ago, and I was talking about this, and somebody in the class was like, so do I need to paint wings on my wall? Maybe, if that's the kind of thing that would attract somebody to come and take a picture with it, maybe. So for me, an Instagram worthy experience, if I'm going to go get my oil changed or I'm going to go get my car serviced, I'm probably on my Snapchat talking about it, right? I'm probably like, oh, I'm #adulting today, going to go take care of my car. I want to be taking my car somewhere where I can feel comfortable taking a photo and sharing that with my friends on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. But if I come into a shop, I'm in the waiting room and it's dingy and it's dirty and the chairs are ripped and it just isn't pretty, I'm not going to take a photo of that. That's not an Instagram worthy experience. However, if I come in and it's clean and it's fresh and it's vibrant and maybe there's a nice like coffee bar area or there's some fresh fruit or cookies or something out, I'm going to take a picture of that and be like, wow, look how great this place is. This place is awesome. Something else about millennials, we want to know that we're going to like the best place. And when we believe we are, we're going to tell everybody about it. You guys, I went and got my oil change. This place was amazing. They like really took care of me. Their waiting room was awesome. They shuttled me to the mall while I was waiting. Whatever that extra little step is, that's something we're going to share. So the nicer it looks, the cleaner it is, the more likely we are to take photos and to share that information with other people. Because if it wasn't on social media, did it really happen? And that's just kind of where the millennial is. We share a lot. We share so much stuff on social media. It's a big difference with Gen Z and us is I think Gen Z is a little bit more guarded. They don't share as much, probably because they watched us overshare possibly. But we share a lot of things about our experiences, about the places we go, we post on social media. So I went back through my own personal social media and looked at some things to pull examples of experiences that I had and why did I feel the need to tell the whole world, that that's what I was doing. So this was one early on in the pandemic. There was a restaurant by us that put these little domes outside during winter so that we could go still eat dinner at this restaurant in a heated little bubble in the middle of winter. And we just thought it was the cutest little thing. And we hadn't been out of our houses in months. And so of course we shared a picture of that on social media and told everybody about this awesome restaurant that had this cool experience that you could go be a part of. This is a photo of the couch. It's from a hotel I stayed at that was supposedly haunted, and I thought it was super creepy, so shared a picture of it. A glass of wine. I could have a glass of wine anywhere. This particular restaurant, I was having an amazing experience. The waiter was super awesome. I was there by myself while my husband was doing some work stuff in Minneapolis. And I just remember being like, wow, this place is so cool. Like the food was fantastic. The experience was top notch. So I took a picture, I tagged him in it, and I talked about the experience on my social media. And then this one lived as my cover photo on Facebook for a very long time because I just love the photo and I love nachos. And this was from a restaurant out in Vegas. So maybe you have a cool sign in your waiting room, or like we have a local restaurant that has a little bench outside with a monkey on it. And people sit on the bench and take pictures with this like monkey statue, or maybe you just have something really neat in your waiting room, or a cool coffee bar, or that whatever it is that would make somebody snap a picture and want to share that on their Instagram. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about an Instagram worthy experience, something that looks pretty and that I would want to take a photo of and share with other people.
And I will say you shared this picture with me yesterday, and subconsciously I wanted nachos, so I ate them for dinner. So it really does have an effect on people. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a restaurant in Vegas called Nacho Daddy, and they have hands down the best vegan nachos I've ever had. But I just thought it was a cool sign, and who doesn't love nachos? So this did live on my Facebook for like a year. This was my cover photo on my Facebook.
So when we go to Apex and SEMA, we're gonna go to this place.
100%.
Anyone on the phone can join us too.
I've been told their regular non-vegan nachos are very, very good too. So yes. Okay. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about things that I don't want from an automotive repair shop. And one of those is please don't talk tech to me. Please don't use things that I'm not going to understand. So some examples of that. DVI. I don't know what that means. Okay. I do know what that means because I'm in this industry, but if I was just a customer, I wouldn't know what that means. So things like that. Another word that customers don't really understand is diagnostics. That doesn't mean a lot to me. There's not a lot of value in that word diagnostic. So instead saying something like, oh, we're going to run a series of tests, or if we ran a series of tests on your vehicle, that makes more sense to me. I understand that. So not using words that I don't understand. I will tell you that if you're talking to me and using stuff I don't understand, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to stand there and be like, oh, okay, yep, and I'm going to nod and smile, and it's all going to go, over my head, and there's no value being created there. I don't really know what we're talking about. I don't really know what I'm paying for. So as much as you can, try to take the terminology and put it into words that customers can understand. My dad tells a story when he used to own a shop, they did what he called the mother test, and they would send his the repair orders to his mom. And if it made sense to her, to my grandma, then it was good. So think about that. Like make sure that the terminology we're using, that we're defining it, that our customers understand it. Because if we don't understand it, there's not a lot of value in what we're paying for. If we're spending a lot of money on something, at least let us know what that is. So don't talk tech. But you might have that customer, because millennials are tech savvy. You might have that customer that is super techie and wants to talk about their car. If you pick up on those cues, by all means, then have that conversation with them and use the terminology that they understand. But if if we're just kind of like nodding and smiling and you can kind of tell we don't really know what you're talking about, take a couple minutes and try to explain it to us, because chances are we won't tell you that we don't understand what you're talking about. Anything else in the?
Nope.
Okay. All right. And then kind of along the lines, a little bit more on things that I don't want from an automotive repair shop. We've all heard about cancel culture. It's been a big buzzword over the past few years. And we see it a lot in big companies. We see it a lot happening with celebrities being canceled. But the thing is, as a small business, you're not immune to this. And we have seen this, like in the city I used to live in, a local restaurant. Customer came in, customer overheard the owner making some racist comments. They put it on social media. It exploded. That did not do well for that business. So those are things that we really need to be aware that our customers know, or not that our employees know, like what is appropriate, what is not appropriate to talk about. If I come into a business and I overhear comments like that, I'm not going to come back. I'm not comfortable. I don't feel safe there. Or if I come in and I, see like an owner or a manager yelling at an employee, that's going to make me uncomfortable. That's not going to make me want to do business there. So just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. We do see this on a much bigger scale, but it is still happening to smaller businesses too. And then I have Show Me. So something that I really want from an automotive repair shop, and I know we're doing this a lot, is sending photos. We have those digital vehicle inspections now. We're able to send photos. I absolutely love that. If there's something wrong with my vehicle and you can send me a picture of it, that's fantastic. But here's the thing. Like if you're talking to me about my tires and you're like, oh, well, your tire tread is blah, 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 blah. That doesn't mean anything to me. Or you're talking about my brakes and you're telling me what they're at. That doesn't mean anything to me. So if you send a photo, that's great. I can see it. But please, 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 if you're going to send me a photo of what my brakes look like and you're telling me that I need to replace them, send me a photo of what they should look like. Because now I can see that difference. And there's so much value in that. If you're sending me a picture of my tires, send me a picture of what brand new tires look like so I can see that difference, right? Because just sending me a photo of my brakes are inside my car. I don't see them. I don't know what they're supposed to look like, right? So send me that picture of what they look like and then that picture of what they should look like. And then something else I want is mail. I absolutely love getting things in the mail. And this is something my dad and I differ on, because when I talk about this, he's like, no, I hate getting in the mail. It's all junk. It's bills. Nothing good ever comes in the mail. Millennials have kind of trained ourselves that good things come in the mail. We shop online all the time. We have subscriptions that come in the mail. I enjoy getting the mail in every day. My bills and my junk, that's in my email. My email is like where I don't want to go, where I don't want to open anything because it's all junk and I don't want to look at it. But if you send me a piece of physical mail, I'm actually going to pick it up. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to touch it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to see it. I might throw it in the trash, or if it's something like, oh, hey, this is something I could use, maybe I'll put it up on the fridge. The next time I need to go get a service done, I have that. So that's something I really enjoy, is getting mail. I know when we just moved here to this new house, we got a ton of mail within the first month from local restaurants, local businesses, all of that stuff we loved because it gave us a reason to go try out different places. So if you're doing direct mail, continue doing it, but be personable. This is a great place to show your culture is in your direct mail. I will say something I don't like is when you get that mailer, and we got one recently from, I want to say it was from a car sales place. And it was like a pull tab, like lottery type thing, right? And you open the tabs, and then there was this one that was like, oh, you're a winner. And then the key next to it said, like $100,000. But then if you look in the really fine print, it was like, this is an example of what you could win. You have to come in to see what you actually won. Okay, millennials are smarter than that. We're not going to go in. We're going to be like, this is just kind of scammy or feels kind of bait and switchy. Like, I don't really like that. So when we were looking for a vehicle, I was like, well, that's one place I'm not going, because to me, it didn't feel trustworthy. And to me, I saw that and I thought of like my mom getting something like that and actually thinking she won something, only to go there and realize that it was just kind of scammy. So when you do send mail, be transparent, be authentic, be genuine. If you're writing out thank you cards, hand write them. I absolutely love that when somebody takes the time to actually hand write me a piece of mail. And that's something that's Instagram worthy. I'll probably take a picture of that and put it on, like, wow, this place is really cool. They even sent me like a handwritten thank you note. So absolutely love that. Or if you do like cards and things like that and have people sign them, holiday cards, all of that stuff is really awesome to get in the mail. I think I'm seeing some stuff come through.
Yeah, just kind of, people love physical mail. I think you and I talked about it too. You're really seeing a comeback with that. Does a service exist that people that can put a short summary of what was done in the mail, done and mail it out for the customer? Oh, like, thanks for coming in for the oil change, mark your calendar for X for the next appointment. We noticed your pads were 30% worn. I know like services, like, we do that automatically. I don't know about mailers. Do you? I mean, I do get the concept of a mailer as well.
I know of companies that do the direct mail. I'm not so sure on that kind of like reminder type thing. So I don't know, but we could definitely look into that.
Nothing else there, just kind of comments.
Cool. Something else that I want from an automotive repair shop is that they are convenient. So this goes back to The easier you make it for me, the more likely I'm going to come in. So be convenient. I've even heard of shops who are now doing pickup and drop off. I don't even ever have to leave my house. You'll come get my car, you'll work on it, you'll bring it back to me. I can pay online. I don't ever even have to go in. Like that to me sounds absolutely amazing. The more convenient it is, the more likely I am going to be to do it. And then with that, I want other options than just a loaner car. I don't like driving cars that are not mine. So I want other options. I want maybe a credit for an Uber driver or possibly a shuttle or something like that. But to me personally, I like Uber and Lyft because it's tracked and it feels safe. And I think a lot of millennials and Gen Z feel that way too. Safety is a really big thing when we talk about Gen Z. So knowing that I'm somewhere that I'm in a vehicle and it's on an app and it's tracked and that kind of a thing, that safety that comes with that, I really enjoy that. I don't want to drive a loaner car. Not saying get rid of your loaner cars. There are definitely the customers out there who want that, but maybe have other options for customers that are not necessarily comfortable with that. I did just read from Travis. I'm not opposed to the extras, but how likely are customers to pay more for all of the convenience? I would say when you're talking about a millennial, pretty likely. Like I am the kind of person that I would pay more money for somebody to come out and put the gas in my car so I don't have to get out, especially if it's in the middle of winter. That's just kind of, and we're kind of used to that. We're used to paying a little bit more for the experiences that we want. So I think it is pretty likely. Again, now that might not be for every customer, but I do think you would have a group of customers that would be willing to pay the extra money for the extra experience.
I want to answer Gary's. So he put some in the Q&A and I did just see it come through. I was kind of waiting through, but I think we should just go ahead and answer it. How do millennials find a repair shop that has certified technicians qualified to do the repairs needed? And then secondly, what are those hurdles to finding the qualifications of a technicians at repair shops, like ASE certifications, without going to the shop?
We find them online, right? We do our research online. We look online. We're going to look at their social media. We're going to look at their website. So a lot of shops will have it on their website. Our technicians are ASE certified. Again, that's one of those things that doesn't necessarily mean a lot to a customer. They don't really know what ASE certified means. So with our shops, we do a lot of posts on social media that actually explain what that certification is, all the training that their technicians go through, that they go through continuing training. So your social media is a really good spot to share that information about your business because new customers will go and look at that too as well. They'll look at your website and they'll look at your social media. So that's a good spot to put it.
Yeah. And Joey Lee even said, this generation will pay for convenience.
Oh yeah, somebody was telling me, I think this was somebody who lived in Reno, that there was an app coming about where it was kind of like an Uber type thing, but they would pick up your vehicle, bring it to the service repair shop of your choice, and then when it was finished, they'd bring it back to you. I would pay for that 100%. Okay, so I also have on here that I want to go to an automotive repair shop or any business really that's eco-friendly. And we're seeing this even more with Generation Z. That's the sustainability piece, that eco-friendly green thing is something that they are willing to spend more money on. It's something that is sustainable and eco-friendly. And there are things that we might be doing already that you're like, oh, well, we already do that. We're already recycling parts, or we're paper free, or we're not recycling, buying in bulk, buying parts in bulk, all of those things. But are you sharing that? Do you have somewhere on your website that talks about all your eco-friendly business practices? Is that something that you're sharing on your social media? Put that stuff somewhere where customers can see it, because that, especially when we talk about Gen Z, that is something that they are looking for with who they spend their money with. And then the last thing I have on here is to just be transparent. That's what we're looking for in your marketing, on your social media, in your communication with us, to just be transparent, be authentic. And that's for millennials and Gen Z, something that we really, really want. We don't want to be lied to. We want to be treated like humans and talk to like we know what's going on, but again, in a way that we can understand it, and to let us know what's going on in the process, and to just be authentic. And I think I missed maybe a couple of things.
I think it's just, just some comments. We answered the hurdles of consumers. Would Uber Lyft be costing the company in long term in long run if they were just giving out credits? I think that's an investment question, right? Like, are you investing in your, I don't know, Sarah, what would you say? I mean, I feel like in the long run, you're investing in that retention, right? And that loyal customer. So you have to take a step back and see if that's worth it, right?
I agree. Yeah.
Um,
I do have my email address up here. So if you guys do have any questions, or if there's anything, that I didn't address or you want to know a little bit more about, you can absolutely email me. And I have my phone number up there, but like I said, I'm a millennial, don't call me, but you can text me.
well, I really appreciate the engagement. I think this subject brings up, a lot of opinions, right? And I think we've seen it through the chat as well. And it's just one of those conversations that's, it's hard to have, but it's the majority of the buying right now, or almost the majority of it. So it's a hard conversation. So Sarah, you've been absolutely wonderful. I do hope that you guys reach out to Sarah should you have any more questions. We will send the recording through most likely tomorrow, if not by Monday. But if you have any questions, please reach out. Are there any other webinars or conferences targeted toward millennials and digital marketing in the auto world? I think you would be best to answer that.
I've definitely spoke at quite a few conferences doing classes specifically on millennials. The owner of my company has been talking about millennials and Gen X for a while. But yeah, there are, and I know if you go like Carm Capriato does remarkable results. I've done some podcasts with him specifically on millennials. So I think if you just go in there and search my name or search millennials, some stuff would come up. So there is quite a few things out there. I'm sure I'm not the only person talking about it either. So there's definitely a lot of training out there. And I've just kind of started within the past couple of years doing this stuff on Gen Z too, because there are a lot of them as well. And they're our new customer that we need to be ready for.
Yeah, and I think so there's just questions about, Ubers and Lyfts and how you pay them. We sublet a labor line on invoices, no upcharge. They have a Lyft account and a card associated. There's also you can create codes with Uber and Lyft and basically give out those codes so that when somebody is booking their trip, all they have to do is put that code in. So it'd be great marketing for you if you use your shop name, those types of things. I've used those for big events and stuff. So that's another way. But Scott, he has a Lyft account with a card associated. So I don't know if that's how he does this, but I know that the code also works well. You can create a code.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I know that some people have asked for your contact information. So I will make sure that we follow up in the follow-up with that, Sarah, and the follow-up email. I will include your contact as well. That's okay.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, this afternoon. I really appreciate it. And Amber, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Always great working with you. Thanks, Sarah. Bye, guys. Have a great day.